And good morning. Happy Wednesday. We are live on the Falcons Podcast. We're going to bring in our Facebook groups real quick. That's Atlanta Falcons on All Falcons and Scott Kennedy Sports. That way we can get everybody coming in today and we can talk some Falcons football or more. If you have any questions about other teams, we like doing that too. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast. It is Wednesday as we head into July. June is almost gone. That means we're just right around the corner for training camp and Hall of Fame games and preseason games. Blink twice, and they will be here, Nick. Nick, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing pretty well. Somehow the little guy did not wake up when I got up this morning, so fingers pumped he stays asleep during the show. Otherwise, leaving my mom or the mom, Natalie, on the raw end of the stick there. But we're doing well and getting excited, man. July is going to be a fun time. I'm going to go do something with a friend first week of July when I have a few small trips planned. It's kind of hard to leave with the newborn, obviously, and I don't want to, but also I'm out in Seattle right now and I don't know, nothing really fills my cup more than backpacking, climbing, hiking. So I'm going to go do something with a buddy here July 7th through 10th time. And then also I'm going to go climb Mount Whitney the end of July, which is the tallest mountain in the contiguous U.S. So that'll be pretty fun. I won a lottery to do that one, and it's going to be very hard up to
Where is that one?
It is on. So it's the opposite of Death Valley. And when you're on the top of it, to the east is Death Valley. So the highest point in the U.S., opposite the lowest point, obviously, with how the tectonics work and everything and the faults. So it's Southern California, about 4 hours west of Vegas.
I probably went by it. I just don't remember a junior college named after Mount Whitney. So Archangel says, "Morning, Scotty. Happy to see the forehead shining as much as your personality." And Nick on top of it. Yeah, we got a good shine. Actually, I'm fairly tan right now in the summertime with all the travel baseball and stuff. So it doesn't quite shine. At least when it shines, I don't quite look like a dead man like I do in the winter. So yeah, when you're talking about, the stuff that kind of gets you going, that's how I always felt riding my motorcycles. You twist the throttle and it's just like, oh, yeah, this is where I belong. And yeah, I know. Careful with that. If you're listening afterwards, I apologize. But yeah, the happy place. And some people are starting to come rolling in. So appreciate it. It was a little, I got the stream built a little bit late. So the algos and everybody, they're out there finding you. Hit that like button. See if we can find some more Falcons fans. We want to say hello to some folks. That's why we go live on Mondays and Wednesdays, because we like having the conversation. Dave was in that bright and early. Dave Glassman with the hearts. Good morning, Dave. Hope you are doing well. Jordan comes in. He says, "Good morning, my dudes. Man, I hope that DL ranking is on that DL meeting room whiteboard. Ain't no way." Now, did PFF just do that one? Because I hadn't seen that one yet. It sounds like a story we need to do over at Falcons SI. Yes, it is. It just came out. It came out yesterday from Sam Munson. And are they including edges in this? I would imagine. Nope, they're not. They're including DL. And how far? Remember now, they do pretty much just straight off of their previous year's rankings.
Yeah.
I'm still going. I'm at 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. They have the Atlanta Falcons defensive line ranked 28th in the NFL. Hell, there's our lead. Forget breakout players. 28th. And they've got the Denver Broncos 31. We can talk about that on the next show. The Atlanta Falcons defensive line, which I consider arguably the greatest strength on this team, 28th, with David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett, Taquan Graham. Zack Harrison came on last year. They just fortified with 3 rookies on the interior defensive line. Oof. I consider this, honestly, from 1 through 6, 1 through 7, I think it's a top 10 unit, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you don't have that superstar difference maker. I know that you and I I love Grady Jarrett, but I don't think he is, the transcendent all-pro level player anymore. It's not Chris Jones. It's not Dexter Lawrence, not Jeffrey Simmons, Christian Wilkins, et cetera, but he's in that, 10th to 20th range in the NFL, maybe even a little higher than that. And David Onyemata was really good last season. Other than that, there are guys, it's a deep unit, but there are questions, right? You have questions about Harrison, Graham. What does he look like this season? They list Trice on the interior defensive line here, which has me raising my eyebrows some.
Without listing Taquan Graham, who is pretty good. And it says 28. Here's the line, y'all. David Onyemata is a very good player on the inside, and Grady Jarrett was once one of the best in the league, even if he hasn't been that level for some time. Excuse me? Outside of that duo, the Falcons don't offer much up front. Young players like Zack Harrison, Rook Orohoro, and Braylon Trice may surprise, but this is a unit that looks like it will struggle again in 2024. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, because you know these type of things. What was the Falcons' run defense efficiency last year?
Oh, man, they were very good.
They were very good.
They had to be top 5.
Now, you lose Calais Campbell, who is, he's a good run beef, and Bud Dupree did a very good job up front because they basically played a 3-down lineman with Bud Dupree as a stand-up fourth on your edge. But do you have a replacement for Bud Dupree? I mean, he can be replaced. I mean, Lorenzo Carter does a pretty good job. Arnold Eetti is decent in run support. Okay, that's still your edges. They're not talking edges. No. They're talking interior defensive line. Okay, so you've got Zack Harrison is coming on, and you've got Grady Jarrett, and you've got David Onyemata, you've got Taquan Graham, and then you drafted 3 more guys. You go 7 deep with serviceable players at worst. Jeez.
Yeah. And just to be respectful and just accurate on it, the Falcons had the number 1 rush defense in terms of EPA per rush last season. Now they fall all the way to 9th in success rate, but from the overall efficiency, they were damn good. And I think it's something that when you look at this defensive line, I don't think they're chock full of superstars, or, I don't think they are a no doubt top 5 interior defensive line, but with the depth they have, the young investments and transcending talent at the position too, I think you can have a little bit of projectability there. And for them being this low, this to me reads as a failure of the units around them versus the interior defensive line. So when your edge rushers are poor, when your linebackers are injured and mediocre, you're going to have some questions.
Yeah,
and I know Landman said,
the linebackers still played fairly well last year. I thought Caden Ellis played well, and I thought Nate Landman played well. And then you get Troy Anderson back, et cetera, et cetera.
I think that was a product of the interior defensive line, though, for Landman especially.
Right. But like you said, to conclude on that, will struggle again. They didn't struggle before. To struggle again, you have to struggle before. The interior line got banged up, but that's injuries. Now, say that. Okay, we're not sure if Grady Jarrett will come back and be, anywhere near what he was in 2023, 2022 and a half.
And just to be, again, clear on this, I scrolled down to read the Broncos, and the first 3 players they list are edge rushers. So they must be including edges in this.
But they're separate at the very top. It's separate. Single player position rankings. DL, edge, linebacker, corner, safety. They're separated.
Huh. I don't know what's going on, but they read the Broncos. They talk about Browning.
Yeah, you're right. Flash. I go to the Broncos, and who do they say? John Franklin-Myers. Okay, he's okay. Baron Browning, Nick Bonito, and Jonathan Cooper.
And then they mentioned Jonah Ellis. 4 edges.
Yeah, that's all edges.
Yeah. So
this is weird, y'all. I mean, Archangel, preach. But that's just, there's opinions, and these are opinions, blah, blah, blah. But this feels like a mistake. This feels like it's wrong.
Okay, so I clicked the edge rusher one, and it's the ranking of the players, not the team units. So I think they're lumping edges and interior defensive linemen together for units, but they ranked the individuals differently. So it's weird conglomerates, I guess. But if you're including the edge rushers, I still think 28 is probably a little low because I really respect the interior defensive line.
Yeah.
But the Falcons' edges probably a bottom 7, bottom 10 unit.
I'm okay with if they were to say that, Eetti, Lorenzo Carter, and Braylon Trice were 28th. I'd be like, okay, I see that. I mean, this is a team again, y'all. They finished last, I think, last year again in the league in pass rush win rate. That's an edge stat. They got up in sacks, but the sacks were coming from multiple places. Okay, we talked about edge being a weakness of this team forever. We beat it to death during the draft and after the draft. I get that. Okay. But in the interior defensive line is a strength of this team. And then they drafted to make sure that it stayed a strength of this team when Onyemata and Grady Jarrett, they're in their 30s, so they've got maybe 2-3 years left. So when they move on, that it will still be a strength of this team as Ruka Rohoro, Zion comes up, and who am I missing? Brandon Dorless, as Dorless comes up, Zack Harrison is a veteran, Taquan Graham's a veteran, that it stays a strength. So to say, now you might think that Grady Jarrett, he isn't all that good and he's hurt, and Onyemata's all by himself, blah, 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 whatever. You can think all that stuff, but to say they'll struggle again means you didn't pay attention. They didn't struggle before. To struggle again, they had to struggle before. Mm-hmm. The front defensive line was a strength of this team, and it got stronger.
Yeah.
So it feels like a mistake to me, dude.
Yeah, it is weird. I mean, when I'm looking at it again, it says they have Ross positional player rankings and they have unit rankings on a list as well. So I think that at least does give them a little bit of slack, but not a lot. And I'm actually looking here. They have the running back rankings out here as well already. So you have the Falcons at 28 for interior defensive line. Where are we at for running back? You'd have to be, I think, probably top 10, right?
I mean, fifth. That one I did see, and it was fifth. And I'm like, okay. I think they're a little bit better than that. But I watch these guys more, and I don't play fantasy football. Mm-hmm. I think I saw like a top 5 guy in fantasy football. I'm like, who's that? And I didn't even recognize the name because running backs, they're just not stars like they used to be.
A lot of them are products of the unit too, of the system.
Yeah. So it's like, Mostert down in Miami, he's like a superstar. And I can't tell you where he went to college. I don't remember him. Raheem Mostert.
I think he went to Purdue.
Okay. And again, I mean, I grew up in the 80s when the stars of the teams, other than quarterbacks, of course, were middle linebackers and running backs. And that changed. It's changed. So again, I just feel like there's a subjective and objective opinion, and I feel like they made a mistake on this one. Like you took tomorrow's copy and put it in yesterday's column. It's like you're talking about edges here, and Grady Jarrett, they didn't struggle. It's just a little strange for me. If this is the 28th unit in the league, there's a lot more defensive linemen in this league than I've seen come through in the last 5 years. I promise you that. Brandon Yaller, good to see you. I appreciate the super chat, breaking the ice on YouTube for us. Really helps us this time of year as it slows down a little bit. So thank you, sir. He says, morning, guys. Do you think the new coaching staff will make a night and day change, or will the team's new additions show God's work? All right. This is one of those that you can't – we talked about the fun part of having Justin Fields, Arthur Smith, and Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh is we can actually see what happens. We'll get an answer. How is that going to work? We will get an answer. This one, though, Nick, we won't necessarily have the answer. You just hope that it all comes together. But who makes the bigger difference? Kirk Cousins or the coaching staff? For me right now, it's the quarterback. It's the quarterback short term. And then long term, it's the head coach. But still, even for the long term, the number one move I wanted to see make was Arthur Smith replaced. Now, did they replace him well? We don't know for sure yet. Kirk Cousins, we've got a pretty good idea he's going to make things better, a lot better quickly on offense.
Yeah, I think in college football, though maybe that's changed a little bit, the NIL, but it's more the head coach and the program. But in football, it's a players' league, and the players make a much bigger difference on the whole, and especially the quarterback position. And going from arguably the worst quarterback room in football last season to now something, I mean, even just let's say they're 15th, the impact that would have, the change, is hard to describe.
Quantify.
Yeah, it really is. It's because quarterback is that valuable, that important, especially having somebody who knows what a successful offense looks like, that's ran an offense similar to what Zach Robinson wants to bring. It's such a greater impact. So maybe, you talk like 5-10 years from now, we might say the head coach over Kirk Cousins specifically, but it's impossible to say the head coach in the immediate short-term view having more impact than the new quarterback coming in.
Yeah, and for me also it was the offensive coordinator that was the important one there. I don't want Arthur Smith back because he's still going to be calling plays, and I don't want him calling plays anymore. Not for this team. Again, I did a Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, and they're like, "What?" And if you follow me on X, I retweeted it and stuff. You may have seen it, but it's like, what can we expect from Arthur Smith's offense? I'm like, I don't know that I can tell you honestly, because I don't think he had the quarterbacks to run what he wanted to run. So, y'all have heard us joke before that during at least once a game, at some point, he hits the F it button. We're just going to run the ball down their throats. And it'd be like, okay, 14 play drives, 13 runs, and for a touchdown to come out in the third quarter. And then I don't know that he's going to be able to run what he runs to run with Russell Wilson as his quarterback either, because our boy Russ runs what he wants to run as soon as the ball is snapped. Mm-hmm. So, again, Brandon, both of these changes were absolutely necessary. It's hard to quantify which is going to make the bigger difference. I'm a personnel guy, but you will see for the long term, you need the culture. If the Chiefs are transcendent because of Patrick Mahomes, but if they went and got one of the top 3 or 4 rookie quarterbacks in the draft under Andy Reid for the last 10 years, they'd still be really good. Mm-hmm. They'd still be really good because Andy Reid is really good. It's not just like, oh, well, Sean Payton can't win without Drew Brees. Well, we've seen Andy Reid do a bunch of good things with different guys. And Sean Payton gets his chance. That's a great question, though, Brandon. Appreciate it. Jay, my buddy Jay, Pope High School alum, says, good morning, fellas. Does Avery Williams stay at running back, or is he going to go back to defensive back when he's not returning kicks? I think he will, Jay. I think he'll stay at running back. I just don't think he'll see the ball a ton. And he'll play some slot back, too, where you'll drop him in the slot sometimes. But I think he is going to be a core special teams guy. And it just reminds you how bad the Falcons roster was. No offense to Avery Williams, but he was an All-American as a kick returner. He was an All-American as a corner at it wouldn't BYU, was it? Where was
it? Boise State?
That sounds right. Yeah, Boise State.
Yeah.
And poor Avery Williams is out there covering CeeDee Lamb in Dallas in the slot, and he's moved to running back the next year. That's how threadbare the talent was in 2022 for that team that managed to eke out 7 wins. So I think he stays. He'll be practicing with the running backs, but he will be. Hopefully, he comes back fully healthy because he's a weapon in the return game.
Yeah, I mean, running back, defensive back, you're carrying 53, and he's enough of a positive in special teams all around that anything else you can get from him is gravy. But let's say he doesn't even play offense or defense, especially with how much special teams is going to be more valuable now with the new kickoff rules. Now, granted, is Avery Williams as valuable with that new kickoff? I'm not sure. I need to see it. It's all concept right now. I need to see what the proof looks like. Are we looking like, tight end body types more valuable than the wide receiver body types in that return game? I don't know.
I think he can be, because he's a punt returner.
Yeah.
So it's to me, it's not going to be the same as the standard kick returners where it's your fastest guy, pick a lane and pin your ears back and go. Mm-hmm. The punt returner, I think the kickoffs will resemble more of a punt return, where it's make a guy miss, change direction, and see if you can find the lane, as opposed to grab your fastest guy and pick a lane and go. So yeah. I think Avery Williams will be more valuable in the kickoff return game. And then he led the league in yards per return and punting the year before he hurt his knee. So 2022, because how does Cordero Patterson return kicks?
Turns up the rockets.
Like a freaking 225-pound freight train.
Screaming banshee. Yeah.
But I think it'll be the change of directions moving forward that he may actually be more valuable as a kick returner.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's I still want to see what it looks like, just because I'm not sure exactly what's going to be more valuable or not for the body types and skill sets necessary. But yeah, even if let's say he doesn't even play offense or defense, he's a worthwhile player having, because special teams matters. It's in those margins. You can win and lose games through that third phase.
Mark Schrader, appreciate you coming in from Texas, keeping the lights on here. Hope you're trying to stay cool out there and all your air conditioning units are firing. I've got one that's been out since last week upstairs, so I haven't slept in my bed in like 8 or 9 days. It's supposed to get fixed tomorrow. So we'll see on that one. Jordan says, talking about that game with 43-3. I don't remember the score, but I remember a bad Denver Broncos team went into Dallas the week before. I think we talk about the synergy between the Broncos and Falcons ever since Nick and I started working together. It seems like there's a lot of connections. And the Broncos, I think the week before went in, and that was a bad Broncos team under a lame duck head coach, Vic Fangio. And they went and embarrassed the Cowboys. Whoever was playing the Cowboys the next week in Dallas was in deep doo-doo. And it just happened to be the Atlanta Falcons that went in. So Chris Walker, have a question here real quick. He comes in. Good morning, Chris. He says, good morning, Scott and Nick, along with everyone watching. Happy hump day. Hump day. Yeah. How did our linebacker group do in the rankings? I don't think they've done one yet. No. I would make a prediction of somewhere in the neighborhood of, I know they liked Landman, and I don't remember the rankings on those. So without looking, I would say somewhere in the 15 to 20 range would be my guess on the rankings. But if I look at player grades, I look at position, and I look at linebacker, an error occurred while loading the position grade. See, I told you it was a mistake. It didn't actually even come up. So player grades, I'll look at team, Atlanta Falcons. The linebackers came in last year. Richie Grant was 89th out of 95 safeties. Caden Ellis was 20 out of 82, and Nate Landman was 28 out of 82. So that's two average linebacker starters, if you think there's two linebackers starting on every team, basically. And, for 64, they came in 28. So I would say probably 17th will be my prediction for where they come in right now. And I think the upside on that is very, very good with a shot of Troy Anderson coming in his third year.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what him and Ellis look like together. I mean, two pin your ear back guys, and you have some versatility at edge. So doesn't necessarily have to be the edge rushers. The front four rushing, especially with where the NFL is at right now. Hopefully Ellis and Anderson can fit into that role as well. Landman, I mean, he can. He's just not as twitched up as the
do your job. Just make sure, clean up the mess. Send in your attackers, and make sure nobody gets past 5-yard gain. You do that, he's doing his job. Like, just stop them. Taking again, you miss that tackle, it becomes a 15-yard gain. So do your job in the middle. You don't have to be the playmaker. Just make sure they aren't making the big plays, and I'm happy. And Landman did a really good job at that last year of just doing his job. You're not going to have a Pro Bowler at every position. So, goodness gracious, here comes the sunrise. Michael Ronquillo coming in with that hot pink fuchsia. Thank you, Michael. We certainly appreciate you. Again, this time of year, it certainly helps keep the lights on, keeps this big forehead nice and shiny with the lights shining on them. So thank you so much, Michael. He says, good morning, Scott and Nick on the Falcons podcast. Good morning to you. And we'll see you over on the Denver Broncos for breakfast here that we're going to go to in about 45 minutes or so. So the topic of the show that we listed was breakout players for the Atlanta Falcons. And we've never really dedicated a segment to doing stuff like this. We've had these questions and we've talked about it a little bit. My goodness, Nick, because of the underachieving nature of the team, especially on offense last year, there's a lot of candidates that you can say. Now, I've taken kind of Bijan off the table. He set a rookie record for the Atlanta Falcons for yards from scrimmage with 1,500 yards, and I think he was knocking on the door of 10 touchdowns. He's broken out.
Yeah.
Now, can he transcend? Can he take go to superstar level? That'd be one thing. But a name that's been coming out a lot, Nick, is Michael. We'll get to you. Give us a little bit more information on that, and we'll pass it along. A name that's come out twice now. Daniel Flick on Falcons SI did a long piece on Matthew Bergeron and how the Falcons are really expecting him to take. He's got quotes from Ledford, from Raheem Morris about how they expect him to really take the next step in year 1 to year 2. We should, because he was pretty good last year. And then I think the biggest improvement can be from year 1 to year 2. From the outside looking in, Bucky Brooks over at NFL.com put Bergeron in his all breakout team for 2024. So again, some of those third-party validation things that don't usually happen for bad teams, the teams that haven't been winning, Bergeron is getting some looks as well. So that's been a nomination for around the league a little bit, is second round pick Matthew Bergeron.
Yeah, I mean, Bergeron makes a lot of sense as much as an offensive lineman can break out, but liked him a lot coming out of Syracuse, some versatility there. And I think he's a good fit there at guard. And he should, I mean, Jake Matthews, solid pro at left tackle. Dahlman's played well. Lindstrom, the other guard. There's a synergistic effect. What was that?
Lindstrom, the other guard.
I mean, obviously standout player, but it should be easier assignments in theory, get a little bit of help there. Now, granted, maybe with the way teams are going with their simulated pressures and everything now, they try to target Bergeron because that might be better than Dahlman, Matthews, or Lindstrom. Or maybe that's McGarry on the other side there. But Bergeron makes a lot of sense as a breakout candidate. The one that I wanted to say here, can we have a re-breakout candidate?
I was going to say the same thing. There's no way we're thinking about the same guy. There's just no way.
I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me if we're talking re-breakout.
Well, there's
Kyle
two
Pitts?
then, because I can think of two. Think of two. One had a big season as a rookie.
Yeah.
And that's who you're thinking of.
Yep. Kyle Pitts. I mean, going to be age, 23, 24 this season, had the knee injury, but has had some dreadful quarterback play. I don't really think always the best. Like Arthur Smith liked to use the tight ends, but I don't always think he was the most creative in getting his guys open with the scheme. And now you have Robinson come in from the McVay tree, who's pretty damn good at getting guys open with the scheme, especially in the slot middle of the field area. Now, not exactly the same as Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, but figure it out. I mean, he's a unbelievable biggest catch radius ever, the mock for pass catcher, I think, coming out of the combine data. Freak athlete.
Yeah, it's the longest wingspan in like 25 years. It was like 7'2", if I remember right, or it was like 84.5 inches or 86 inches. He had a 7-foot wingspan. Those are basketball players.
Yep. So I mean, he's a unique specimen. There's a reason that he went as high as he did. I mean, if it was a redraft, you taking Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons, Patrick Surtain there, but I digress. He's a rare specimen, had a really good rookie season, but it's been marred with coming back from a knee injury, questionable coordination in the pass game, and not even questionable, terrible quarterback play for the most part. So he is a re-breakout candidate. I am scared to death of taking him in fantasy because I feel like okay, this is the year. He's just way too talented. And then tight ends are kind of, weird and fluky. There's only a few that are actually big time needle movers, but you got to be Kyle Pitts. A re-breakout, breakout, whatever you want to call it. It's a big season and a big opportunity for Pitts.
All right, you can guess mine then when I was saying who this might be. As far as a re-breakout candidate, there is a player on the Atlanta Falcons that had an all-pro type of season that's fallen off a little bit the last 2 years and could come back and have that one. Who is this guy?
Terrell.
AJ Terrell. It's AJ Terrell. Can AJ Terrell reestablish himself as one of the top cornerbacks in the league? I think he's still pretty damn good. When I go down my list of, okay, these are the things that need to be fixed on the Atlanta Falcons, it takes me a long time to say they need an upgraded cornerback one. I think you're good there. Will he get his contract extension sooner rather than later? We'll see on that one. But I think AJ Terrell is a candidate to have, but it's not as obvious for several reasons. One, the pass rush, we'll see. It might not be any better than it was last year. You're expecting everybody on the defensive side of the ball basically to step up. There wasn't a lot of investment onto that side of the ball for the now. Now you got rookies. You drafted heavily on the rookies, but I consider every one of those guys backups in 2024. So it's like, oh yeah, you brought in Max Crosby. That's gonna do wonders. Or you've got, you brought in Justin Simmons to play next to Jesse Bates. No, you're talking about a scheme, not necessarily a scheme change, but a coordinator change with the same guys, how much really are any of the defensive players going to take that next level of the veterans? I don't necessarily see that, but AJ Terrell is a breakout candidate for me because I still think he's pretty damn good, and he hasn't been a top 5 corner the last couple seasons.
Yeah. I mean, some of that was the really heavy cover 2 stuff that they were doing there. The other cornerback opposite him being so poor that they didn't really target him so much. So I don't think he'll end up being a top 5 cornerback this season. I also don't think that you probably have, going back to PFF's ranking of the defensive line, a unit that can press the quarterback with pass rush to the extent where your cornerbacks are being elevated because of the pass rush.
Right.
So he'll be good this season. I do expect, up a little bit. I also think having more competency on offense can force teams to push the envelope on the other side and give your cornerbacks and pass rush a better opportunities. It's like, I don't know if you weren't there when Vance Joseph he became a meme when he was a head coach in the Broncos, but it's like, why aren't we getting any sacks and turnovers? It's like, well, we never have a lead. So we're never able to, play the offensive on defense and, push other teams to make mistakes and be aggressive. They can go into a shell. And that's kind of what we saw last year with the Falcons, maybe in the last 2 years with the Mariota season as well. So I think he's a breakout candidate. Obviously, when you're talking about breakout candidates, you look at top recent draft picks. And the one I wanted to give a shout out here, freak athlete, length, elevated to position, good flashes last season. Zack Harrison. I'm getting my offensive coordinator, the defensive line confused there. Zack Harrison was a super prospect coming to Ohio State. Didn't test. He had some hamstring issues last year, I believe it was. But it sounds like he's fully healthy this season. If you're going to be playing, with that defensive line, maybe some one-gapping stuff, 4-eye technique, I think he can be pretty darn good there. And the wingspan, everything, he might not put up eye-popping stats because he, has to go through multiple guys, but impact player for sure. I think he's one who could break out and have a very good season. The pedigree's there, talent's there, athleticism's there. Keeping an eye on him for sure.
Yeah, Michael, his dad has pneumonia. We're thinking about you anytime you talk about a parent. I don't care if you're 20 or you're 40. A parent getting pneumonia can be a little scary. So we'll be thinking about him. We'll be thinking about you, Michael. Hope all is well. Archangel, Archangel's right here because I was going to ask you the question. Who's the guy, if you could pick anyone to have a breakout season that would be most beneficial for the Atlanta Falcons to take that next step? Which guy would you choose that would help the Falcons be the best? It's not you don't want Kirk Cousins. He's not going to take another step. If he plays like he did last year, you're good, man. You're good. Bijan Robinson, if he's 1,500 yards from scrimmage and 10 touchdowns, you're okay. If he goes to 2,000 yards and 15 touchdowns, maybe. But the breakout guy who would help you the most is this guy, Arnold Eetti.
Yep, Arnold Eetti. I mean, the real dark horse here for your answer for you, Scott, is Michael Penix. Like, let's say something happens to Kirk and Penix comes in and he's like, holy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if Michael Penix has a breakout season for the Atlanta Falcons, that's not all bad either. You're going to the playoffs. It's not just it won't be the path you were expecting, but again, that's pretty good insurance. When we talk quarterback rooms, the Falcons are in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
But all things considered, if we're talking no injuries,
yes.
If Arnold Eetti has a breakout season, I think he does more to address this team's biggest weakness, which is pass rush. Was quarterback then pass rush. Quarterback's been, I won't say solved, but it's been addressed.
Yeah.
It's Arnold Eetti.
Yeah, if Penix comes in because of a hamstring injury or a broken thumb to Cousins and is like, oh my God, this is CJ Stroud. That'd be the one that'd be the most probably impactful. But we're doing a little bit of fantasy casting on that one. Most likely everybody stays healthy. Absolutely. Arnold Eetti. You're still looking for multiple edge rushers on this team. It's not just, you have questions about Eetti, but opposite him as well, Lorenzo Carter, Braylon Trice. I mean, we'll wait and see on those guys, but you need probably 3 guys total. And if Eetti can break out this year 3 in the league and become a no doubt starter, pushing double-digit sacks while not being a detriment in the run game, base package stuff, that'd be huge for this team. He is talented player, obviously fell to the second round. So not, that blue chip prospect, defensive line guy, but still can be a very good piece overall. So yeah, Ebiketie is the one who really stands out for me. It'd be nice if he had a massive breakout season in year 3. I mean, we're kind of already approaching a lot of times edge rushers peak year 3, 4, 5.
This is the year.
We're here.
This is the year. We need to, and the thing is, I'm not saying like Nick, because I agree with you. He showed flashes as a rookie. He improved in year 2. Now let's take that next step in year 3. And he absolutely, he'll get the opportunity to be a double-digit sack guy and play well against run. Now, does he become Yannick Ngakoue, he set a record. He's in there with royalty of pass rushers, of guys that had like 8 sacks in their first 6 seasons. There's only like 6 guys that have ever done it. 5 of them are in the Hall of Fame, or 4 of them are, and the other one's Aaron Donald, or it's something crazy. Mm-hmm. He can't get a job. He can't keep a job because that's all he does.
Yep.
Now, Ebiketie is more. He is more than that. But again, for breakout candidates, the one, and this is funny, Brendan. I thought it was funny about Bradley Pinion. Breakout season. Bro has a weak leg. Ebiketie having a breakout season would do more for the Atlanta Falcons than anybody else. You want to see that from your high draft picks. Kyle Pitts goes from 600 yards to 1,400 yards. Drake London, he had 900. Drake London goes from 2 touchdowns to 10 touchdowns. Okay, that's nice. You've got other weapons there that can go, and I think Kirk Cousins is going to spread the ball around. I don't necessarily expect to see a Justin Jefferson type of season with an 1,800 yards receiving and the next guy's 700. I think it's going to be, more evenly distributed. Arnold Eetti breaking out this year would do more for the Atlanta Falcons than any other player.
Yeah. Besides Penix. But yeah, that's again, that's just
but not even so, because if you get the best of Kirk Cousins, is there any way that Michael Penix as a rookie is going to do better than what you would get from an average Kirk Cousins?
In the possibility of the future when anything could happen, Penix could come in and play like CJ Stroud, and it would be better than
CJ Stroud was still like 26-10. It's awesome for a rookie.
Yeah.
But his numbers weren't close really to what Kirk Cousins was doing last year.
Before Cousins went down.
Right.
Yeah, the rate. Yeah, for sure. Although I will say probably better infrastructure and system.
Yeah.
Also, it's a different
course. But again, a lot of that stuff is, okay, this is what he did as a rookie. What was he? He was 23-5. He was 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
He also started kind of slow. It was like that, like back 3/4 where it's like, oh, holy, this guy is, this is the best rookie season for a quarterback we've seen since Justin Herbert, but then Andrew Luck before that. So that would probably be the most impactful long-term, especially maybe not the immediacy, because you're going from
Tampa and throwing. Actually, it was Tampa at home. Him throwing for 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, not bad. After that game, though, he was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 touchdowns against 4 interceptions in the final 8 games. So again, it was really good for a rookie. It wasn't necessarily a transcendent type of season. It was a 2-1, 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in 8 games. Meh. Overall, I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of all quarterbacks, I expect more than that from Kirk Cousins this year.
I hope so, especially with the infrastructure you have in place. I will say also I'm very much a proponent of judging people based on their peers in the same season because of how the landscape changes. And last season was one of the worst quarterback years across the league that we've seen in 15 years. So while you look at those numbers by themselves, it's like, oh, that's not great. But then you compare it to the peers, it's like, oh, everybody was really struggling last season. Points were down. Explosive plays are way down. So that's one where I think it's just the overall type of stuff. And we have the Trevor Simpson saying Kirk is better than CJ. I mean, maybe. I think if you had a redraft of the league, most people would take...
It's not a redraft, though. I mean, if you're playing fantasy football, because we're just talking pure numbers right now.
Yeah.
Kirk probably goes ahead of CJ if he's 100% healthy, just because he's going to put up better numbers. But again, let's hit on that. Well, we can touch on that next time. CJ Stroud was awesome. I'm not knocking CJ Stroud at all.
I know you
I'm
love
just
CJ.
saying, for breakout guys, this is actually another good shout from Chris Walker. It's DeMarco Hellams, the other safety. We've been talking defensive back acquisitions since October, for almost a year, and the Falcons feel comfortable. Either that or they just haven't been able to make the right move. But they're saying all the right things, that they feel comfortable about the guys they have, including DeMarco Hellams. And I think Richie Grant, I don't think his spot on this team is solidified. He's up to, $3 million or so? I think it's almost $3.8 million. You save $3 million if he's gone. Despite the talk of, okay, I really like the way he played from the defensive back coach, Raheem Morris. He's a head coach, but he's a defensive backs coach by trade. I'm not positive Richie Grant sticks on this team. DeMarco Hellams stepping up would be huge as a safety partner next to Jesse Bates.
Yeah, it would be big. I think that Hellams is a good call. We loved him in preseason last year. Maybe Justin Simmons still makes it here and you kind of push him down. I don't know. We'll see what happens there with the safety market. But Hellams definitely stands out, even though Grant is around there. Abernathy too. Dane Kershank. I haven't heard that name in a bit. But yeah, Hellams, again, he's one of those ones where the edge rush and the pass rush being questionable, linebacker health, and just what that looks like also impacts safety a lot. But Hellams stands out. And Jordan Brown says, I like Hellams a lot. Bama safeties are always hard-nosed dudes. Yep,
Bama
absolutely.
Defenders, you can pretty much just say that, period.
They're going to be smart. They're going to fly around. I did want to get one more shout out here. This is kind of a dark horse, but year 4 player, but year 1 for Atlanta. We're looking for wide receiver 2 on this team. He obviously played Mooney good money. He had a breakout before. He'd be a candidate for re-breakout, but did want to give a shout out to Rondale Moore. Played in that weird kind of 10 personnel air raid stuff with Kyler Murray. Haven't really played in a pure, timing kind of guy, scheming guys open as much.
Darnell Mooney.
Mooney already had a breakout though, because he'd be a re-breakout. I'm going to go with Rondale Moore here just because he is younger. He was a really highly rated prospect coming on. I think went like 49th overall, and he was so dynamic at Purdue. I rember his first game as a true freshman, taking it to Ohio State, breaking tackles and like 2 touchdowns. He's a fun one. Somebody's got to step up at wide receiver too. For a breakout candidate, I think Moore is one I'm keeping an eye on.
So I want to share an article with y'all, just to discuss. This is a fun discussion because there's so many candidates on here. I want to bring this up. I've got it listed on my Scott Kennedy Sports page on Facebook. I shared it. Let me drop it in the chat here. Make sure this works. If you click on it from a Facebook, it adds so much to the URL it gets ugly. My good friend Bill Huber is the Green Bay Packers publisher, longtime Green Bay Packers publisher, Packer Report. And he came up, he did the math on the list of teams with players that are how many 30 years or older. The Packers only had one. They only had one of those guys. And I looked down, I scrolled down, and the Falcons were pretty low on this list. And what I was saying about this topic, it's a fun topic because there's so many candidates for the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons only have 9 players that are 30 years or older, which actually puts them middle of the pack. But it feels like a younger roster. The 49ers have 20. Cleveland's got 14. Pittsburgh 13. Houston 12. Baltimore 12. New Orleans 12. Think of this. Less than a quarter of the what's that mean? About 15% of this league is over 30, maybe. Commanders 11, Jets 10, Buffalo Bills 10, Seahawks 10, Jacksonville Jaguars 10, Bears 9, Vikings 9, Falcons 9, Cowboys 9. And that's where they are. There's a lot. And again, if you're still in the league at 30, it meant you were really good. You're probably earning a bunch of money, and you were really good. Think of the players for the Atlanta Falcons that are over 30. Kirk Cousins, David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett, Jake Matthews. There's 4 off the top of my head. Coming up with other 9, there's probably a specialist in there. like a punter, long snapper or something. Can't think of any others.
McGarry's 29.
McGarry's 29. Lindstrom would be younger than that. The whole offense would be younger than that. Defense, linebackers, no, and then defensive backs, no. So I'm not even sure who the 9 are. It would be reserves, but the one I'm looking on that is good.
Lorenzo Carter.
Lorenzo Carter, he's got to be close. I would think he's
28.
probably 20. Yeah, it's still under that because he's like 6 years in, and I think he was a 3-and-out guy in college. So,
yeah.
But to be still in this league at 30 means you had to be damn good. Don't we have a bum corner who's 30 plus?
Eddie Goldman's 30. There we go.
Who is?
Eddie Goldman.
Oh, he's retired 3 times. I don't count him.
He's on the list. He's on the depth chart.
He's on the list. He made the list. Listen, we're going to get out of here. Thank you for making this a fun show, everybody, today. I've really enjoyed it today. I want to say thank you to our Super Chat superstars. Brandon Yaller getting us started. Mark Schrader coming in from Texas. Michael Ronquillo coming in from Arizona with the red hot pink Super Chat. And then just everybody, please keep Michael's dad in your thoughts. He's fighting pneumonia, which can be, man, getting sick in the summertime, especially, I don't know if he's near you, Michael, but being sick when it's hot just sucks. I don't know why it feels so much worse to get those summertime sickness, but hopefully he's better and comes through okay. What's the date next year? We will go definitely on Monday, July 1st. I was looking at the holiday week next week. We will definitely be back Monday, July 1st. We'll play Wednesday, July 3rd by ear as we go into a long holiday weekend with the 4th of July. And I've had a blast today. Thanks for being here, everybody. Hit the comments. Be respectful. Again, I don't ban you for disagreeing. I ban you for being a jerk. Which, as the channel grows, we get more and more of those types along the way. So appreciate it. Nick and I, in about 20 minutes, we're going to hop over to youtube.com/milehighhuddle. If you want to continue the conversation, we will be there. Otherwise, we'll see you Monday. Y'all enjoy the rest of your week and have a fantastic weekend.
Peace.